Okay, here we go. Okay, what happens when I multiply two rational numbers? So if I have like 3 times negative 4, those are two irrational numbers. Okay? So if I have a q times a q, what's the answer going to be? Dallin, come on up. Is it rational or irrational? All right, so he thinks it's irrational. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Was 3 times negative 4, was the answer irrational? Nobody's responding to me. Brayden is. Negative 12 is still rational, right? So it's red. It's rational. Oh, there we go. Rational. All right, next one. What happens when we multiply a rational? So shout out an example of a rational number. An example of a rational number. Oh my gosh, this is not the hard part of the lesson, my friends. What's an example of a rational number? 2, okay. And an irrational number? What? Pi? Sure. So is that answer going to be rational or irrational? That's the question. Is Q times P rational or irrational? Ashley, can you come up and make a guess? Okay, hold on. She thinks it's rational. What do you guys think? There it is. Blue. Irrational. Good. You are correct. Oh, nailed it. Here you go. So, correct. Irrational. Okay, what happens when we multiply two irrational numbers? Okay, so if I had like square root of 2 times square root of 5. Okay, we talked about this last time. How can I simplify the square root of 2 times the square root of 5? Huh? Oh, I could factor tree, but I'm kind of going backwards. If I wanted to put it under one square root. Times them. So this square root of 2 times square root of 5 is the square root of 10. Is that answer rational or irrational? Irrational. But this one I'm going to do for you because this one is a little tricky. Because there's an exception to this one. Because what if I had square root of 3 times the square root of 3? Isn't square root of 3 times the square root of 3 still? See how this is a p times a p and it equals a p, right? And this is a p times a p. But if I do the same thing, the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is the same thing as the square root of 9, which is rational, because that's the same as 3. So this one depends. This one depends. Can someone raise their hand and tell me what it depends on? What does it depend on? Okay, what the ending number is, and how can I tell from the beginning numbers if the ending number is going to be rational or irrational? What does that depend on? Come on, guys. What does it depend on? Why was this answer irrational, but this one was rational? What was going on that made it so the second one? Yeah, Indiana? Yeah, I can factor it. And why could I factor it? Because it's a pair. It's the same number. It depends on if my two p's are the same square root. If they're the same square root, then it's going to be rational. But if they're different, then it's going to be irrational. Anyone want to come up and take their turn now just to throw it since I already answered this one for you? Yeah? Lydia? Come on up. Put the yellow one. Do the yellow one. Oh, no. Okay. We're almost there. 3/4 done. Okay, when we multiply two real numbers together, shout out an example of a real number. Bueller. 3. I'll take it. Another example of a real number. 10. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's like pulling teeth. That's how it feels when I ask for a volunteer of an easy question. I feel like I'm pulling your teeth out. Okay, so when I had a real times a real, let's have someone who hasn't come up yet today come and make their guess. Anyone who hasn't come up yet today? Kyrie, come on up. So grab red for real and blue for imaginary, or yellow if you want to phone a friend. Real, he thinks real. What do you think? Yep, good. Just throw it. Ah, it's harder than it looks, right? Okay, now, what about if I have two imaginary numbers? This is a tricky one. Okay, so if I had 3i times 5i. Okay, this leads into the second half of our lesson today. Okay, I'd have 15, right? Because 3 times 5. So 15. And how many i's would I have? How many i's do I have? 2, right? So it's I squared. Now on day 1 of this unit, do you guys remember what I told you to memorize I squared is? Not 1, not 0. -1. Okay? I would star and circle this again for like the 3rd time. You got to get this memorized. I is the square root of -1, and I squared is -1. Okay, I'll show you the reason why one more time. If I have the square root of -1 and I'm squaring it, that's what I squared is, those cancel.